Okay, so in this one we've got an anti-tank gun, and that looks pretty modern. Standards against World War I tanks, 10 of them. I just had a thought. Let's get started. Oh, he's blasting. But the tanks did win. That was quick. Let's try again. Here we go. So 10. I've done 10,000 anti-tank guns. You have to get in position. They're heading for the tanks, which are somewhere over here. I've given them distance this time in this second round because they were way too close. So now the firing starts. So will the tanks take out the guns? Or can the anti-tanks do enough damage? Because of the distance now, they've got a bit better chance of hitting the tanks. World War I tanks against more improved anti-tank guns. Numbers show us relatively even so far. Now what I was thinking is doing 1-on-1 originally like I used to do, and then I can improve it to get an idea of the hit points. Let's check the hit points actually. So the hit points are 10,000 for an anti-tank gun. So head over to the World War I tanks. So the original tanks, 10,000 again. So it is even Stevens. The numbers are almost even Stevens. But it will all depend. You can do the damage faster. Now for those of you that don't know about the World War I tank, of course with the trench warfare World War I, 1914 to 1918, it ended, or it began after the initial battles into Stahlmauer trenches all the way from the Channel all the way down to Switzerland on the Western Front. There are other fronts as well, of course, many others. But after all the just marching into battle, 2 years and so on, inventions were being made. The aeroplane came of age and then was improved and then used in battle, the first bombers, and then the secret of the tanks. The British made the first tank, but to keep it secret, they needed to give it just a general name so it couldn't be found out, and they just thought water tank. So if anyone got hold of any name or code names of tanks, oh, they were bringing water tanks to the front line. So that's how the tank got its name. And when they first appeared on the battlefield, let's just say, it stunned the Germans, terrified some of them. They'd never seen this great big thing. And if you look carefully at its design, caterpillar tracks were on the sides so they could roll over like a tractor. And then they had guns in the sponsons, I believe, sponsons on the side, machine guns as well, there's a gun in the front. But they were very slow, it was new technology. They were very hot, they were very noisy, and they were very poisonous smoke as well. They hadn't figured out completely the exhaust and getting rid of those fumes. So it was really hellish to work in because it was so hot as well. And the only thing that really could take them out was a direct hit, or if they broke down, direct hit from like an artillery or something high caliber like that. But it was new technology, so between the First World War and the Second World War, the improvements were made, and then the world had to go through it again. So if we look at the numbers, it's still quite a lot of numbers. It's not quite even yet. One side we've got 1,000 more. Assuming that's the tanks have got 1,000 more. The guns cannot do multiple firing that the tanks are doing with machine guns. That rock is blocking, doing a bit of blocking, but the guns should be stronger, but it's not enough. They have to hit more tanks more quickly. So it's pretty even good evens battle. Let's say 8,000 and 7,000 now. So whoever the side team one's got more than ourselves and left. Way more than 1,000. That it is 1,000 more, 1,300 more. So I think these tanks, when they're out of it, they turn sideways. They're still being hit. That begs the question: are they still firing, or are they just blocking? If they're blocking, you can see the anti-tank guns. A lot of them are missing the mark. They're fighting up an incline, a slight incline, as you can see here. So they're hitting the ground rather than hitting the tanks. You can also see the blood spatter. It's flowing down. So rather than they're not even shooting up or down, they're shooting across. They're just hitting all over the place. There's still a lot of anti-tank guns. So if we try and follow the pattern, yeah, they're missing the target. They're missing the mark. They're hitting the ground. The tanks are just doing so much better. Even though they've got advance, they've just stuck in position and firing from these positions. And the tanks can just keep on firing. And the anti-tank guns are just, look, they're just missing the mark, left, right, centre. You go up and down the line, they're just missing the mark too often. Looks like there's a lot of dead tanks here. Don't think these are firing, these are just out of their mark. See if they take any hits. Means they're dead perhaps. And then protecting the other tanks. These ones are doing better. As we can see, they're hitting the tanks. It's a shame that the tanks or whoever, dies doesn't disappear after a time. So it's hard to follow unless we want to check. Let's do that actually. Yes, we cannot possess. That means it's out of the battle. So it just remains on the battlefield. We'll just see if these are getting hit. If it's going through. Just not pushing forward, or they can't push forward because they're hemmed in. When they can move forward, they will do, but they can't get around the dead tanks. That's a problem. So I think they're getting extra protection shields. If we look at the numbers, one's at nearly just under 7,000, the other one's at less than 5, and we're going into the night. If we look at this side, tanks are not exactly trying, well, they can't. They're trying to outflank, but because they're getting hit, they've run out of room to go around. Because every side, all the way up to the mountains here, even though there's just few guns here, this is going to take a while. So these guns look like more modern. Anti-tank guns. It could be World War II generation or just after. And the way these work, take a look. They're actually meant to be folded at the back for transportation. And then when you fire, you open up where it gets towed onto these, where you see bipods, and these dig into the ground with the hook shape on them to give it stability. You fire the gun, so the gun can It's only so far. And, with the recoil, it's quite a long gun. It may be bigger than, well, probably way bigger than 75 or 88 millimeters. So much more modern than the initial tanks. Be 2 and 4 and 5 pounders and so on. Well, we just saw that last tank get blasted there, and he's out of the fight. That was good to see. There are still tanks fighting like here. See, yeah, he's being covered. You can see no blood spatter or little. He's firing and he's using the other tanks as cover. He's trying to move forward, as we just saw there. He just can't. Otherwise, they would move in. So that's worth it to see. The guns are moving in themselves to get further the tanks that can't move. They've got more maneuverability on the map. But it means they're going to expose themselves. And they've got to hit those tanks, which are still firing. And there's now more than 2,000. So usually I was considering doing just 1,000 each on this one. I did 10,000. In hindsight, it would have better stuck to 1,000 for the time and length that I usually do. Hence another reason why I do the increments upwards. As we consider a lot of guns still firing. They're not moving forward because the tanks can't move forward. They are actually moving forward here a bit. Which is good that they're moving forward, but means they're exposing themselves because they've got no protection from other guns that can cover them. Whereas the tanks are just walled in behind dead tanks and using it as cover. Yep, if we look at the fire is actually like hitting the rocks, the ground. And I'm trying to see if they're hitting the other tanks but going through. They are going through the other tanks. It's just that it's a bit odd, I think. The tanks are blocking, they're there blocking, and yet they're not blocking the actual tank guns going through, which is, in a way is good because it means the tanks can be hit and struck. But it also means they can't move around. It's also a bit unrealistic. They should deflect. The anti-tank guns should hit off a dead tank and just deflect. But then, yeah, this game would last a lot longer. So they have taken out quite a number of tanks here. So maybe I'm wrong, they are taking out tanks. And the dead tanks are not in benefit of these living tanks or the remaining fighting vehicles. No, there's a whole section here. So it looked like the tanks, they're not even moving forward. Look at that. They've got 2 more rows of tanks. And as we can see, they're moving on this side. They are trying to outflank. If they can outflank, there is no mounted on this side. So if they can outflank, then we'll get a bit more of a battle, moving battle, which is what I would have preferred. That might unfortunately not happen until the end stages, where more guns get taken down. But if they get stuck behind all these dead tanks, then they're not going to be moving much. See, they've come up to their firing point and they're just shooting from this position, and the anti-tanks can hit them, which is good and decent. But Team 2 is now down to just 2,000 left, and the other side's got 2.5 times, more than 2.5 times. So this is proving to be a long battle, as I said. And normally in my original recordings, if I didn't voice them, I would like cut it in the edit and then speed it up like 50% or more Let's make it go a bit faster, otherwise we could be here all the time. I'm also trying to go across the map to see what it's doing. Tanks are moving forward to replace the others, but they're just getting walled in. The centre is just a mass of tanks that are just stuck. Like I said, going all the way to the mountains. It's a really big, huge line with massive reserves of tanks in the back. Who are on this side, it looks like they can go around, but if we go all the way to the mountains, it's just chock-a-block. Unless the tanks can think about going around here, they're just going to be stuck. The guns have moved up to that position. So I think the only other hope is for the tanks on the other flank to encircle them if they can get around. It's becoming a huge nighttime battle, which I do like the gun sights and the gun flares and the nighttime colours and the tracers. Even though there's no sound for this one, obviously, because I'm voicing it. It is a heck of a lot. It actually looks decent. It looks very well. Very good. So it works very well. It looks very good. Okay, the tanks. So they're finding nooks and crannies. They're actually moving in, which is because of their slender frame and profile. They can look at that. They're slipping in between, which I wasn't expecting that. But if they get jammed here, they won't be able to go around. So they, in theory, could still. But here come the tanks, trying to catch them. But will they go around? They need to go around. They are now heading almost, not quite straight up, but trying to see where they are. They're in here and they've just rolled themselves in. They're just stuck here. So we will conclude it. Just see, it's very hard to go through here. In fact, it's impossible. The tanks are just going to get all bogged up. Some of these tanks have made it through, but only up to this point, and then it's just hemmed in. So I keep thinking that's the front line, but it isn't. The guns here are not moving forward anymore, but there's still quite a lot of them. So we'll find out who's got more. But I see now it's showing many more guns. So maybe it's only a limited amount of tanks. And the guns have prevailed if they can keep on firing and hitting. The tanks are just jamming themselves in. And because they're a bigger target, they're being hit much more easily, even though there's no armour much on the guns. And a lot of their shots are going all over the place and hitting the ground, as we can see. There's just still so many guns. And if it is these other guns, if there's like 5,500 nearly, against literally just over 400 tanks, then yes, the tanks could not outmaneuver. Like in the First World War, they were very slow. They moved very slowly. They could cross trenches because of their wide, great strength. They were designed that way to go up and over trenches and any depth of them and to cross over. But then, because it was new technology, they could break down. Like I said, they were hot. It was very, very difficult. There was like 8 to 10 men inside here. And they moved out only at like 4 miles an hour. That's a fast walking pace. A man or a person, an adult, can walk 3-4 miles an hour. So that's like every 15 minutes for a fast walk, and a general walk 3 miles an hour, 20 minutes for a mile. So you could easily outrun these. These were heavy tanks. And here we go. The guns have moved forward and broken through. Or pushed through. And now there's only 165 tanks. And so they might have to outflank, actually. Because they're trying to get closer. But they need to outflank to come through. Otherwise, they're just going to be fighting, shooting. These tanks at the back that can't come through. But they are being hit. Their profile is so high as well. So they were about 10, 12 feet high, I believe. Maybe even taller. And they must have weighed several tons, obviously. 10 tons, something like that, I'm not sure. And yeah, their information is fairly accurate. I actually watched a video about a Mark 1 tank that was taken out in World War I. The guy Martin, actually, he was trying to build theirs, recreate their own. And there we go, they've taken them out. The anti-tank guns, modern ones, did win, and they won with over more than half their numbers still retaining. There are other tanks here, but I'm going to have to think about how they worked and how they get blocked in for next time. Just zoom out to have a look at the pattern. So there are several lines of fighting here with the anti-tank guns moving in. Oh, that was a long battle. Thanks for watching.